Hi there, you're watching Market Cafe on ET Now with me Shreyanshi Singh, and with me as always is Snehisha, and over the next 1 hour we'll take you through news and updates from within the country as well as across the globe, tell you which stocks you should keep on your radar and tell you what the brokerages are saying as well. But first things first, let's take a look at what the US markets did, and Snehi, there really is no stopping S&P 500, is there?
Well, S&P 500 for sure, but the real outperformer, or the one index to watch out for yesterday was Nasdaq, powered by what stellar moves we've seen in Nvidia coming yesterday, and we'll tell you through everything that was happening with Nvidia as well. But first up, let's take a look at what was happening in the US markets on an overall basis. Stock futures are little changed in overnight trading after the S&P 500 notched a new record closing high thanks to a rally in artificial intelligence chip darling Nvidia. Now, Lululemon jumped 10% in extended trading as the sportswear manufacturer beat expectations in its first fiscal quarter. Five Below sank nearly 15% on lackluster results and guidance. Now, stocks are coming off a winning session because the S&P 500 jumped almost 1.2% at close at that 5,354 level. The index also touched a new intraday all-time high of 5,354 as well. The Nasdaq, however, has jumped 2%, a real outperformer in yesterday's trading session. That also hit a new record, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average added almost 0.2%. So lackluster moves coming over there, but in the green nonetheless. But when you compare it with both S&P and Nasdaq, Dow is lagging behind slightly. Now, Wall Street is looking ahead to tomorrow's non-farm payrolls report for May, with investors on the hunt for signs of a weakening labour market, which could support rate cuts from the Federal Reserve. Private payrolls data from ADP released yesterday showed a slowdown in hiring. So we'll just have to see how this pans out for their economy and what the next move of the Fed is. Because remember, today you have ECB's rate decision. Tomorrow you have Shaktikanta Das, who will be announcing the MPC's policy rate decision. And over the course of next week, you also have the Fed coming out with their rate decision outcome. So lots of interesting central bank movement also happening, and lots to watch out for when it comes to the macro front. But while this is what US was up to, let's quickly switch focus and also take a look at what Europe markets were doing. And well, pretty solid moves coming here as well, because DAX closed up 1% higher, FTSE 0.2% higher, and the overall stock 600 also very solid moves coming over here. 0.8% higher is where the stock 600 has closed. So well, very good moves coming in. But yes, the key factor to watch out for today from the European markets is going to be the ECB rate decision, as well as what Christine Lagarde has to say in her commentary. Well, largely a rate cut is expected. But let's just sit tight and wait out and watch what happens on that front. But Shreyanshi, while this is on the equities front, very good handover coming in. What's the world of crude doing?
Absolutely. So it's very interesting what we're seeing happen with oil as well as gold, because there's been a roller coaster with gold as well. But we'll come to that. First of all, when you look at crude oil futures, rose more than 1%, bouncing back from 4-month lows after a decision by OPEC Plus to increase production triggered a sell-off this week. So now when you look at US crude and global benchmark Brent, they're down nearly 4% this week after 8 OPEC Plus members agreed on Sunday to gradually phase out 2.2 million barrels per day in production cuts. Let's take a look at prices then, and when you take a look at WTI, you're looking at $74 levels a barrel and an uptick of about 82 cents or over a percent. Year to date, though, US crude oil is up 3.3%. And when you look at Brent as well, that one was around $78 a barrel, up about 89 cents or over a percent. And year to date, that one is also up 1.7%. Now, rising oil inventories in the US weighed on prices earlier in the session on Wednesday. So when you take a look at US crude stockpiles as well, there's interesting data coming in there as well, because US crude stockpiles grew by 1.2 million barrels last week, according to data from the EIA, and this far outpaced analyst expectations of the 2.3 million barrel draw that was being penciled in earlier. So that is as far as US oil stockpiles are concerned. But like I mentioned, gold had quite the roller coaster day, because gold prices did gain on Wednesday as bond yields fell after weaker than expected US private payrolls data bolstered expectations that the Federal Reserve would cut interest rates later this year. So when you take a look at the price movement coming in for gold, spot gold was up 1.1%, around those 2,300 levels per ounce, and this was after a 1% fall in the previous session. So quite interesting what we're seeing play out both with oil and gold, Snehi.
Absolutely, very interesting moves coming in. With that, let's also take a look at all the important cues you need to be keeping on your radar for today's trading session. Now, globally from the US, you have initial jobless claims as well as trade data. Now, yesterday, after getting the services PMI from UK and Eurozone, today from the UK, you have construction PMI, and from Eurozone, you have retail sales, and of course, the ECB rate decision. Shifting focus back home, lots happening on the corporate front, a whole host of stocks to watch out for. The first one in focus will be RCF, because that is going to be reporting their Q4 earnings. Mishtan Foods, that company is going to be mulling rights issue today, so watch out for that as well. The board of Z Entertainment is going to meet to mull fundraising plans, so yet another stock in focus. The board of Canfin Homes is going to be meeting for general purposes, and ITC is the one to watch out for today, because ITC shareholders are going to meet to mull the demerger of the hotels business. So, well, lots of stocks to watch out for, and especially keep a close eye on ITC today. In terms of lock-in period, then 6% equity comes out of lock-in for RK Swami, so watch out for that counter in today's trading session as well.
Absolutely, and let's get started by looking at some global updates then. And when you take a look at Nvidia, that one has all the spotlight because shares of Nvidia rallied to record highs yesterday to become the second most valuable company in the world, surpassing Apple. The US AI chip maker's stock market valuation hit the $3 trillion mark at market close, and the rally comes as Nvidia prepares to split its stock 10-for-1 with effect from June 7th. Having surpassed Apple, Nvidia is placed just after Microsoft, the world's most valuable company, with a market capitalization of $3.15 trillion.
Alright, well, business activity in the US services sector has expanded in May, with the ISM services PMI recovering to 53.8 from 49.4 in April, a very sharp jump coming in, and this is also what has aided the US markets. Remember, this reading came in above the market expectation of 50.8, which was led by increase in higher business activity and rapid new orders growth. On the other hand, China's services PMI activity grew at the fastest pace in 10 months in May, and this was led by employment expansion for the first time in 4 months.
Alright then, and shifting focus from US to Europe then, ECB is all set to announce its interest rate decision, and investors are highly anticipating a rate cut this time to 3.75% from 4%. Remember, this will mark the official end to the record fast hiking cycle that began post-COVID-19 pandemic as inflation soared. Last time the ECB hiked rates was 2019. Analysts also expect that the cut will set a new direction for the policy, but with economic momentum outperforming expectations and domestic inflation proving sticky in 2024.
Alright, well, lots to watch out for in today's trading session. We'll slip for a breather on this edition of Market Cafe. When we return, we'll take a look at how the Asian markets have opened up this morning and what they're up to, so you stay tuned.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, just a day after the big mandate, it was a crucial day for the NDA in regards to forming the government. Let's go across and listen in to Padmaja Joshi, Executive Editor, Times Now, for more updates of the meeting. Padmaja, it was an all-important meeting. So what really are the key takeaways? What stands out and what really transpired at the meeting then?
The day after the results was very hectic for both the main political groupings. The NDA, which is now set to form the government, 8th of June is when the proposed swearing-in ceremony is going to take place. On the other hand, INDI grouping also met in Delhi. All of the alliance partners met in Delhi. There was a huge buzz about whether they are going to try and stake claim to form the government. But while a statement was issued about how morally the Modi government has lost the right to govern because this was a mandate against the policies of Modi 2.0, there is no clarity on whether any such effort to try and poach people from NDA is going to take place. Some, like Sanjay Raut said, we will wait for an opportune time. Others, like D. Raja, ruled that out. On the other hand, the NDA has some reason to breathe a sigh of relief because all 14 allies of theirs met in Delhi. They all signed a proposal where they reaffirmed their faith in the leadership of Narendra Modi. They said that we have fought the elections unitedly under the leadership of Narendra Modi, and we look forward to another 5 years of the NDA government. However, there are going to be some creases in this entire alliance for the simple reason that, one, there is going to be a jostling for cabinet portfolio. Sources suggest suggests that some heavy industry portfolios are being sought by the TDP. There are also some demands that have come in from the JDU. Even parties like the Hindustani Awam Morcha, which have all of one MP right now, are looking for a cabinet berth. That aside, there are also tricky issues like that of the caste census, something that Nitish Kumar has been a votary of. Will that be done nationwide now? What about special category status for Andhra Pradesh and Bihar? That also is going to be put on the table by allies. Other contentious issues like CEA, will that be put on the back burner? Remember, Nitish Kumar has been publicly opposed to that. So all of that will be on the table of Modi 3.0 or NDA 3.0. But for now, it seems that at least till the 8th of June, all is well in NDA's paradise.
All right, Padmaja, thanks so much for joining us and sharing all those details with us. But on the other hand, the India bloc also had a high-stakes meeting yesterday at the Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge's residence. Let's listen in to what were the key points of discussion, and Sameer Dikshit filed this report earlier with everything that transpired in that meeting. Listen in.
The opposition alliance meeting, India alliance meeting ended. It went in for almost an hour. It was attended by many prominent opposition political leaders that included names like Sharad Pawar, Supriya Sule, Akhilesh Yadav, Sanjay Singh, Raghav Chadha, and also CPIM Sitaram Yechuri. In addition to these names, Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, Priyanka Vadra was also a part of this important meeting. This meeting was chaired by Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge. So this meeting was what we are picking up from sources that when this meeting started, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge in his opening remark welcomed all the opponent leader and has raised this point that the mandate was that the people, the nation's mood is in a direction that they have rejected Narendra Modi, they have rejected BJP. That was raised by Mallikarjun Kharge. In addition to this, it was said that there are multiple seats, there are many seats where BJP was having a strong hold, but when the India alliance, the opposition, they combined, they came together and they gave a tough fight to BJP. There are many seats where they registered win also. So that was also praised in this meeting. Now, what is going to be the future strategy of India alliance? The sources have indicated that they will decide based on what NDA is doing, how the NDA is moving ahead, how the NDA is taking steps to form the government. Based on those calculation, India alliance will be formulating their strategy. But as of now, the picture that emerges, it says that NDA is in a comfortable position to form the government. They are likely to approach the president to form the government, to stake the claim to form the government. And opposition party, the India alliance, despite having a better performance than the last time, they might not having that sufficient number to stake the claim, because the kingmaker, as of now, whether it be JDU or TDP, they have extended their support to NDA. So it seems that NDA will be marching ahead to form the government, but India alliance, they have mentioned that whatever the strategy is going to be, they will formulate and they will be releasing the statement based on the steps taken by the NDA. So that was the key place where this meeting took place. 10 Rajaji Marg, the residence of Mallikarjun Kharge, Congress President, and largely the opposition party. They said that since we have respected each other, we have coordinated well in this Lok Sabha election, and that gave us a very encouraging result. And now it is that they remain united and they should move forward with this unionism, and that will help the opposition party to perform much better ahead as well.
All right, thanks Amir for filing that report and helping us get all of those details. But moving on then, Congress President Kharge also gave a statement after a meeting of the India bloc, and Congress at the moment seems to be indicating that it will let NDA form the government. Interestingly, Mallikarjun Kharge also stated that appropriate steps will be taken at the appropriate time. It is not clear what he means at the moment, even as NDA leaders have rallied around Modi to form the next government. Listen in to what else he had to say then.
The people's mandate has given befitting reply to the BJP and their politics of hate, corruption and deprivation. This is a mandate in defense of the Constitution of India and against price rise, unemployment and crony capitalism, and also to save democracy. The India bloc will continue to fight against the fascist rule of the BJP, led by Modi, we will take appropriate steps at the appropriate time, realize the people's desire not to be ruled by the BJP's government.
All right, well, the Times now also caught up with Shivraj Singh Chauhan to know about his victors, and he emphasizes on the Narendra Modi leadership. Let's listen in.
आप अगर तमिलनाडु देखें तो सीट हमें नहीं मिली, लेकिन शुरुआत हमारी कितनी अच्छी है। 11.24% वोट हम लेके आए हैं। केरला में हमने खाता खोल लिया है और वोटिंग का परसेंट भी हमारा 17 के आसपास हो गया है। तो दक्षिण के राज्यों को ओवरऑल अगर हम देखते हैं तो मन में आनंद होता है कि हमने बहुत अच्छा प्रारंभ किया है। बहुमत प्राप्त करने के बाद अगर केवल बीजेपी की सीट देखें तो इतनी सीटें हमने प्राप्त की है, लेकिन अगर कहीं कोई कमी रही है किसी राज्य में तो उसका विश्लेषण करेंगे। कई जगह हम बढ़े हैं, कई जगह हमने क्लीन स्वीप किया है, कई जगह थोड़ी सीटें घटी है, तो उसका पूरा विश्लेषण पार्टी करती है, करेगी। मोदी जी अनंत शक्तियों के भंडार हैं। देश के लिए जो सोचते हैं वो केवल आज का नहीं सोचते, 2047 का भारत कैसा होगा इसके बारे में वो सोचते हैं। तो सब मिलकर काम करेंगे, कड़े और बड़े फैसले भी होंगे जैसे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने स्वयं कहा है। और मैं समझता हूं कि जो देश के कल्याण की, देश के विकास की जो स्टाइल थी, जन कल्याण की, गरीब कल्याण की जो स्टाइल थी, उसको बदलने का कोई सवाल ही नहीं है। एक मजबूत सरकार, एक दृढ़ संकल्पित सरकार, देश को तेजी से आगे बढ़ाने वाली सरकार, बड़े और कड़े फैसले लेने वाली सरकार ही चलेगी। मेरी रुचि मैडम केवल भारतीय जनता पार्टी के माध्यम से जनता की और देश की सेवा करने की है। जैसा मैंने निवेदन किया था कि कार्यकर्ता के नाते जो ड्यूटी पार्टी देती है उसको बेहतर ढंग से करने की कोशिश है।
All right, then that was the word coming in from Bharatiya Janata Party's Shivraj Singh Chauhan, who won in Madhya Pradesh's Vidisha with 76.7% votes. But let's move on then, and we also caught up with Neerja Chaudhary, journalist and political commentator, as well as Madhavan Narayanan, senior journalist, as well as Sanjeev Srivastav, political commentator, to get you more insights into the story. Listen in to what they had to say as well.
I think now they've pretty well made it clear. The Congress party, from what I gather, has said that they will, as indicated, that they will not be staking their claim. And of course, on this side, the NDA meeting has been attended by Nitish Kumar and Chandrababu Naidu, both flanking the Prime Minister, who is going to stake his claim to form the government as the leader of the NDA, not as the BJP parliamentary party. So that is a very different qualitative shift that's taking place.
The batsman has to be Modi, but it's a fielding that is going to be interesting in this game, because what happened if this morning was a symbolic flight with Tejashwi Yadav of RJD and Nitish Kumar traveling by the same flight and sitting next to each other and talking. And politics is full of symbolisms, and ideally that basically means a signal to Mr. Modi that there will be a hard bargaining and expectations from the side of Nitish Kumar of JDU. You can say pretty much the same thing about Chandrababu Naidu, because even there was a video going viral today about how he had been critical of Mr. Modi and demanding a special status finance for Andhra Pradesh after it split from Telangana. So there are lots of issues on the table from Nitish Kumar's side. That could be a caste census, ministerial berths, including juicy berths like, say, railways. So all these things will be on the table in the coming days, as we shall see. But do not expect any major power shift or equation shift. There will be a lot of body language reading. The opposition parties will be waiting and watching and trying to egg on Mr. Modi to make a mistake the way you would ball a googly in a cricket match.
People want this government to continue, but not in a manner that it rides roughshod over everything and over everybody. It has to be more a give and take, consensus building, a typical coalition government. Now the challenge is how much, since Mr. Modi has no no prior experience of running a coalition government. It is Mr. Modi and his top leadership which will have to do all the accommodation, adjustments, understanding the needs and aspirations and demands of coalition partners. And both Nitish Kumar and Chandrababu Naidu are really old war horses in terms of politics, very seasoned, very calculative, very wily. They know where their interests lie and they are going to drive a hard bargain for that. But at the same time, even Naidu and Nitish realize their best bet for a 5-year term right now seems to be NDA. So it will be a lot of give and take between them.
All right, well, that's largely the roundup of everything that's been happening on the political front. We'll slip into a short break right here, but when we return, we'll shift away from politics and take a look at more stock-specific news and updates, so you stay tuned.
Pacific then get you the view coming in from UBS on HDFC Bank, and they're seeing a possibility for index weight increase in the MSCI August review. They're also seeing a likelihood of weight increase that is high but not a given at this point. Now when you look at what else they had to say, they're talking about how pre-positioning by investors before the 30th June could also be preventing the anticipated increase in headroom. So that is the word coming in from UBS as well, and they're also talking about how there's an upweight move that could lead $3 to $3.5 billion inflows and an additional $2.5 to $3 billion also from buying from other funds with index tracking characteristics that they see that is likely. So additional buying as well that they're penciling in at this point, and staggered increase will be making the inclusion a non-event is something that they also had to say. So that is largely the word coming in from UBS on HDFC Bank. Snehi.
All right, so well, that's the note coming in from UBS on HDFC Bank. They see the possibility of index weight increase in the MSCI August review. So well, that's a positive momentum or positive news flow coming in for that stock. So we'll just see how that stock reacts in today's trading session. But also another stock to focus on today is going to be Aditya Birla Fashion Retail Limited, which is ABFRL, and the top 5 triggers affecting the stock. Jinay is here with all of those details. Jinay, good morning.
Well, as ABRL in focus, the company closed around 15% move yesterday. Let's look at the stock track around 1%. The stock has moved about 46% over last 1 year, and in last 1 month it has moved around 20%. So majority of the move coming in 1 month period. Now there are 5 triggers analysts say to this move. The first one is valuation. If you look at the 5-year average valuation of this EV/EBITDA, it's coming at 31 times, and if you look at the 12-month forward EV/EBITDA valuations, it's trading at 17 times. So it's clearly discount from the average levels. The second trigger is that the company's new businesses which were facing loss, the management says that the peak losses have now bottomed out, so company will be moving to improve in profitability. And the third trigger is rationalization of Pantaloons stores. So the company has shut down around 43 non-profitable Pantaloons stores and now expect the Pantaloons stores to improve in profitability going ahead. And the fourth trigger is the pickup in demand expected in the value segment as the consumer discretionary spending will improve in coming quarters. And the fifth trigger is the demerger of Madura and Lifestyle brands. The analyst believes that this will unlock the brand's value going forward.
Thanks, Jinay, for that update coming in then. But let's also get a list of stocks that will likely remain in focus in today's trading session. So which are the ones that make it to your list then?
On the back of bulk orders, Shilpa Medicare will be in focus as Plutus Wealth Management bought around 7.5 lakh shares at a price of 492, and also UK and India, keep an eye on that, as Ashish Kacholia's firm has bought around 1.98 lakh shares at rupees 1050 rupees. Moving on, order wins, KPI Green Energy has won an order for a 26 megawatt solar plant along with multiple orders to ordering up to 351 crores. BEHL, BHEL will be in focus as company receives orders from Adani Power Not for more than 3,500 crore, and NBCC is also in focus as a company receives orders worth around 492 crores. Moving on, IEX came up with its monthly update where the total volume was up around 29% and the green market achieves a growth of around 74% on year-on-year basis. And lastly, keep your eyes on Century Textiles and Industries as the Birla Estates forms a JV with Barmalt India. They will be developing a luxury residential project in Gurugram with revenue potential of about 5,000 crores.
Thanks so much for taking us through that. We'll keep a close eye on all of these stocks in today's trading session. But well, more stocks to watch out for today on the back of brokerage notes as well. And the first group of stocks we are focusing on today is the City Gas Distribution Companies, or CGDs, because Citi has come out with a view on these stocks. They're constructive on the Indian gas sector, and they believe that the consolidation could benefit larger and more experienced companies. They believe that the government may consider bringing gas under the GST regime, and Citi's top picks among this entire CGD pack is GAIL, IGL, Mahanagar Gas as well. So that's a Citi's note coming in on the City Gas Distribution Companies. But Citi's also come out with another note this morning, and that is on consumer staples. They believe that listed players could see market share gains. They also see some convergence of volume or revenue growth rates, and growth rates improvement in self-help initiatives could accelerate volumes. That is what Citi has to say this morning on consumer staples as well. So Citi's top buys or top picks when it comes to consumer staples are HUL, GCPL, Britannia, as well as Honasa Consumer. On the flip side, Citi's top sells among this entire pack is Colgate India, Dabur, as well as United Breweries. Now, Citi has also come out with another note on the alcohol beverage space, and they expect potential favorable regulations for liquor, and they believe that the NDA has proposed easing liquor regulations. So that is another positive that Citi is seeing for the entire alcohol beverage space. But more notes coming out this morning, I believe, Shansi.
Absolutely, and there's a lot more notes. So now when you take a look at the other sectors that are being covered, Indian IT sector was covered by Jefferies, and they're talking about how they see margin pressure sustaining in the Indian IT sector. In fact, what else they're talking about is that they're remaining selective given the earnings risk as well as the rich valuation. So that is something that they had to say about the Indian IT space. Now, when you look at what they had to say about Nifty IT, then they're seeing it trade at 25 times the PE multiple and at an 8% premium to 5-year average. Also, now when you take a look at their top pick, then they're betting on Infosys as their top pick. So that is the word coming in from Jefferies on the Indian IT space. Let's also take a look at what they had to say about the housing finance companies then, and they're talking about how the government may be announcing revamped affordable housing scheme as well. So that is something that they see as a key monitorable for the housing finance companies. Now, in terms of what Jefferies had to say about AHFCs, they're talking about how they should be direct beneficiaries of this particular revamp of affordable housing scheme as well. And they're also talking about how mid-ticket players can also be seeing some tailwinds as well. Now, in terms of their preferred HFC pick or housing finance pick, they're betting on Canfin Homes, so that's the word coming in from Jefferies as well. Now, in terms of their preferred AHFC pick as well, now Jefferies is talking about Aavas Financiers and Home First Finance making it to that list. So that largely is the word coming in from Jefferies. Lastly, let's also take a look at what Goldman Sachs had to say. And they've talked about private banks. They're talking about how there's a steep correction that offers opportunities. So that is what they're talking about. And as of now, Goldman Sachs is also talking about how fundamentals also are more important than the narrative itself, and they still continue to favor private banks over PSUs. Now, in terms of their preferred private bank picks, HDFC Bank, Kotak Bank, Axis Bank, as well as IndusInd Bank make it to that list. And in terms of their preferred NBFCs, then you have 3 picks that they've seen come in: Cridac, Shriram Finance, as well as L&T Finance. So that largely is the word coming in from Goldman Sachs as well, staying.
All right, well, absolutely lots of stocks to watch out for from the consumer space. You have IT in focus, Alcobev, as well as financials at play. But as we wrap up this edition of Market Cafe, post the 2024 general election outcome, we caught up with Christopher Wood, the global head of equity strategy Jefferies, on his view on the Indian market and the foreign flows and his take on which sectors could perform well. Listen into a snippet of that conversation.
I'm actually surprised that the market has rallied. I just checked the numbers. My Indian portfolio was down, I believe, about 11% yesterday, whereas the overall, I believe the Nifty was down 6%. So that doesn't surprise me unduly. Actually, I'm surprised. I'm surprised given all the obvious uncertainties. I'm surprised the market is up today.
So why do you think markets are up today? Is this an indication that markets are saying that what's happened on the political front is something which is factored in and it is time to move on?
And I think it's a bit premature to assume that because you've still got the horse trading. I mean, clearly the base case is that the current government remains in power with coalition partners, and that's not a disaster. But the reality is the great virtue of the last 10 years has been clear government, consistent policies, and not having to worry about horse trading between parties, which is always a feature of coalition governments. So personally, I'm surprised that the market is up today. But the good news from the fund flow standpoint on the Indian market is there's been huge retail flows into this market in recent months, quite dramatic actually in terms of the numbers, which is why I'm surprised there's not more of a correction right now. But the positive point is that the foreign investors are barely overweight India going into the election because the market had done so well that because driven by retail flows, the valuations were very high in the mid-cap space. So in my view, any significant correction in India from here will be met by foreign buying who will see it as an opportunity. But I'm surprised the market's up today.
I guess what our viewers and what investors want to know are three simple answers. Answer number one, it appears that NDA 3 is on course to make the government. But with a weak, it appears and it is evident that NDA is coming back for the third term. Now, if that happens, there are three aspects which we need to consider and reconsider. Point number one, do you think at a macro level, which is on the aspect of tax collections, fiscal deficit, the way government has been spending in terms of capital expenditure, do you see the macro changing?
There's clearly a risk of a more populist element entering this next government. So that's what we have to watch out for. But that's actually more of a risk from a bond market perspective and currency perspective than a stock market perspective.
Second question, perception, which is always defined as PE multiple. India has been enjoying a PE multiple or a premium PE multiple for a variety of reasons. Stability of the government, solid growth, strong capex cycle, and great corporate governance. Do you see the PE multiple contracting, or the PE multiple of India will always be at a commanding premium?
No, I believe the PE multiple will remain at a commanding premium, but the PE multiple for the big caps is much less elevated than for the mid caps. The mid caps, there's definitely the likelihood there's a significant risk of a derating. But I think part of that risk relates not just to the election, but to any moves on capital gains front.
Third, Chris, is which are the areas where you think reform or government policy would be accelerated, and which are the areas where the government policy making could slow down or could take a back seat?
Well, I think an area where you may see one area you may see more action is to encourage affordable housing. But I would think where the risk is that the budget has very much been focused on capex and less on transfer payments. So that has to be a risk, because that has been a marked feature of this government.
Chris, every government has a unique, policy ideology. Modi one was marked with building digital infrastructure, fixing the power and the steel sector problems in India. Modi 2 was about boost to manufacturing, Atmanirbhar India, and making India very global in terms of the supply chain changes. What, to your mind, could be the hallmark of NDA 3 or Modi 3?
Well, I think that whole pursuit of building manufacturing capability, FDI, I think the focus will definitely remain on that, and that has been aided by the whole China plus one strategy. But I think the risk, I think we were hoping for a big agenda on SOE public sector reform. So I think that's where there's now the question mark on this new government.
So, Chris, if I start summarizing our interaction, can I say that in the way you look at India, even though you are surprised with the so-called political mandate, but you are not inclined to change your India view? You are still of the view that India is the best country to invest in. You are not changing any stocks in your model portfolio, and if at all there is a comeback in defensives like FMCG and some of the so-called consumption stocks, that rally would be short-lived.
That's basically correct. But if I was running my portfolio on a 3-month view, Nikunj, I would be making some changes. But the key question here is, which we don't really know the answer to as of today, is can the current government has performed, in my view, remarkable. In my view, the government of the last 10 years has been the best government in the world in terms of making positive changes affecting people's lives. So the question is that ability to govern fundamentally compromised by being in a coalition? That's the point. We don't know.
Just to wrap it up with a few more follow-up questions. Today we are discussing the Indian election cycle. 3 months out, we would be discussing the US election cycle, which perhaps could have greater ramifications for how risk in the world would move. What is your take? How do you see things would move on a global front for global equities in general and for risk on trade in the run-up to the US election? Because the goalpost will now move from India to United States.
Well, on the US election, I think it's true. To me, there's just going to be a massive amount of noise. By the way, there's clearly going to be a massive amount of media-generated noise on these correlation discussions in India. On the US side, to me, the key issue is that the election is resolved with a clear winner. That the market will just want to see a clear outcome, because clearly the concern will be, given the divisive nature of US politics, given that all the polls indicate this is still a close race.
Indian markets are going to be getting a boost of sorts.
Hi, good morning. You're watching The Market right here on ET Now.